Let's sit in a comfortable meditation posture and close the eyes. Put your attention on the silence that is always there deep in the mind. This is the silent witness. You are the silent witness. From the perspective of the silent witness, listen to the words of the Yoga Vasishta, Book 5, Chapter 28. Bali's meditation. Shukra's advice to the demons. Vasishta continued. Bali's attendant servant, demons, ascended hastily to his high crystal palace and stood at the door of his chamber. There were his ministers, Demba, and others among them, and his generals, Kumunda, and others also. There were likewise the princes, Sura, and others in the number, and his champions, Vrita, and the rest. There was Hayagriva and other captains of his armies, with his friends Akaraja and others, his associates Laduka and some more joined the retinue, with his servants Valuka and many more. There were also the gods, Kubera, Yama, and Indra, who paid him their tribute, and the Yakshas, and Vidyadharas, and Nagas, who rendered him their services. There were the heavenly nymphs, Ramba, and Tilotatma, in the number with the fanning and flapping women of his court. The deputies of different provinces and of hilly and maritime districts were also in attendance. These, accompanied by the spiritual masters inhabiting different parts of the three worlds, all waited at that place to render their services to Bali. He looked at Bali reverently, their heads bending down with crowns upon them, their arms hanging loosely with bracelets upon them. The great asuras made their obeisance to him in due form and were stupefied with sorrow and fear, struck with alternating wonder and joy at his sad condition. The ministers kept pondering about what was the matter with him, and the demons sought their all-knowing teacher Shukra to explain the situation. Because they saw the shining figure of Shukra standing before them, as if they saw the phantom of their imagination appearing tangibly to view. Shukra, being honored by the demons, took his seat on a sofa. In his silent meditation, he saw the state of the mind of the king of demons. He remained for a while to behold with delight how the mind of Bali was freed from errors by the exercise of his reasoning powers. The illustrious teacher, with his personal brightness, put to shame the brightness of the milky ocean. Then said, smiling to the listening throng of the demons, "Know you, demons, this Bali has become an adept in his spiritual knowledge. He has fixed his seat in holy light by the working of his intellect. Leave him alone, you good demons. Let him remain in his reverie in this position, resting in himself and beholding the imperishable one within himself. Lo, here the weary pilgrim has got his rest. His mind is freed from the errors of his false world. Do not disturb him with your talking, who is now as cold as ice. He has received the light of knowledge amidst the gloom of ignorance. Like a waking man beholds the full blaze of the sun when he awakes at dawn after the darkness is dispersed. In time, he will wake from his samadhi and rise like the germ of a seed sprouting from the seed vessel in its proper season. You leaders of demons, go from here and perform the duties that your master has assigned to you, for it will take 1,000 years for Bali to wake from his samadhi. After Shukra, the guru and guide of the demons, had spoken in this manner, they were filled with alternate joy and grief in their hearts, and cast aside their anxiety about him as a tree casts its withered leaves away. The Asuras then left their king Bali, resting in his palace, and returned to their respective offices as they had been employed heretofore. It now became night, and all men retired to their earthly abodes. The serpents entered into their holes. The stars appeared in the skies, and the gods reposed in their celestial domes. The rulers of all sides and mountainous tracts went to their own quarters, and the beasts of the forest and birds of the air fled and flew to their own dens and nests. Chapter 29. Bali returns to ordinary consciousness. Vasishtha related, after 1,000 years passed in Bali's unconsciousness, he was roused to consciousness by the gods. beating heavenly drums above. Bali, being awake in his city, Mali Purvani, was renovated with fresh beauty. As the lotus bed is revivified by the rising sun in the eastern horizon. Bali, not seeing any demons before him, fell into reflecting upon the dreams he had seen. In his state of samadhi, he thought, oh, how charming was that cooling bliss of spiritual delight in which my soul had been enraptured for a short time. Oh, how I long to resume that state of joy. These outward enjoyments, which I have tasted to my fill, cease to please me anymore. Not even the delights of the full moon can compare to the waves of bliss I felt in my soul during my entranced state of unconsciousness. Bali was attempting to resume his state of samadhi when he was interrupted by attendant demons, as the moon is interrupted by clouds. He glanced at them and was going to close his eyes in meditation after making his prostration on the ground, but was interrupted by their gigantic statures standing around him. He then reflected. The intellect is being devoid of its option. There is nothing for me to desire, only the mind that is fond of pleasures, vainly pursuing that. Why should I desire my freedom when I am not competent or attached to anything here? It is childish to seek liberation when I'm not bound to anything below. I have no desire for liberation or fear of bondage since the disappearance of my ignorance. What need do I have of meditation? What good is meditation to me? Meditation and lack of meditation are both mistakes of the mind. We must depend on our courage and hail all that comes to pass on us without rejoicing or shrinking. I require neither thoughtfulness nor thoughtlessness, neither enjoyments nor their privation, but must remain unmoved and firm as the same and sound. I have no longing for the spiritual, nor craving for the temporal thing. I do not have to remain in a meditative mood or in the state of giddy worldliness. I am not dead because my soul is immortal, and I cannot be living because the soul is not connected with life. I am neither a reality as the body or an unreality composed of spiritual essence only. I am not a material or aerial body, being neither this body nor vital air. I am not of this world or of any other, but identical with the great conscious void. When I am in this world, I will remain here quietly. When I am not here, I will abide calmly in the solace of my soul. What shall I do with my meditation? And what shall I do with all my royalty? Let anything come to pass as it may. I am nothing for this or that, nor is anything mine. Though I have nothing to do because I'm not a free agent, nor master of my actions, yet I must do the duties belonging to my station in society. After reaching this determination in his mind, Bali, the wisest of the wise, looked upon the demons with detachment, like the sun looking upon lotuses. With the nods and glances of his eyes, he received their homage. Like passing winds, bear the fragrance of flowers. Then Bali, ceasing to drink or think on the object of his meditation, approached them concerning their respective duties under him. He ignored the gods and his gurus with due respect and honored his friends and officers with his best regards. He honored all his servants and suitors with their largesse, and he pleased attendant maidens with various persons. So he continued to prosper in every department of his government until he made up his mind to perform a great sacrifice. He satisfied all beings with his great gifts and gratified the great gods and sages with due honor and veneration. Then he commenced the ceremony of the sacrifice under the guidance of Shukra and the chief gurus and priests. Then Vishnu, the Lord of Lakshmi, came to know that Bali had no desire for earthly reward. Vishnu appeared at the sacrifice to crown Bali with the success of his undertaking and confer upon him his desired blessing. He cunningly made Bali, persuaded him to make a gift of the world to Indra, his elder brother, who was insatiably fond of all kinds of enjoyment. Having used his artifices to deceive Bali, dispossesses him of the three worlds. Vishnu shut him in the netherworld, just as they confine a monkey in a cave under the ground. Thus, Bali continues to remain in his confinement to this day. With his mind fixed in meditation for the purpose of attaining the rule of Indra in a future state of life. The living liberated Bali. Having thus restrained in the infernal cave, looks upon his former prosperity and his present adversity in the same light. There is no rising or setting of his consciousness in the states of his pleasure or pain. His intelligence remains one and the same in its full brightness, like the disk of the sun in a painting. He saw the repeated ebb and flow of worldly enjoyments and settled his mind in utter indifference to them. He overcame multitudes of changing fortunes for multitudes of years in all his reincarnations in the three worlds, and at last found his rest in utter disregard of all mortal things. He felt thousands of comforts and disquiets and hundreds of pleasures and privations of life. After his long experience of these, he found his rest in his perfect quiescence. Bali, having forsaken his desire of enjoyments, enjoyed the fullness of his mind in the absence of his desires. He rejoiced in the self-sufficiency of his soul and in the loneliness of his underground cave. After the course of many years, Bali regained his sovereignty of the world and governed it for a long time to his heart's content. But he was neither elated by his elevation to the dignity of Indra, the Lord of the gods, nor was he depressed at his subjugation to prosperity. He was one with the same person in every state of life and enjoyed the equanimity of his soul, resembling the serenity of the ethereal sphere. O Ram, I have related to you the whole story of Bali's attainment of true wisdom. I advise you now to imitate his example for your elevation to the same state of perfection. Learn as Bali did by his own discernment, to think of yourself as the immortal and everlasting soul. Try to reach the state of your oneness with the supreme unity of your courageous self-control and self-resignation. Bali, the Lord of demons, exercises full control over the three worlds for more than a millennium. But at last he came to feel an utter distaste for all the enjoyments of life. Therefore, O victorious Ram, forego the enjoyments of life, which are sure to be attended with a distaste and nausea at the end. Take yourself to that state of true joy, which never grows tasteless. Now let's continue, established as the silent witness, and perform Trimana Sandhya on the esoteric Maha Mantra. and balance all karmic traces that have arisen as a result of this reading of the Yoga Vasishta. Hare Krishna, Hare Rama. anger, or death.